These weren't evil plans, just smart inventions that backfired, and once you see how, you'll never look at progress the same way again. Today, 33 biggest fools who shaped modern history through failed inventions. From a phone nobody wanted to a bridge that twisted itself apart, it's wild. Stay for the last one, because Mars itself may have pulled the plug. Now, let's start with Nikola Tesla, and a tower meant to power everything. Nikola Tesla's wireless power tower that never worked. The tower ended as a rusting monument to unpaid bills on Long Island. In the early 1900s, Nikola Tesla convinced investors to fund Wardenclyffe. He promised wireless signals, wireless power, and a world connected without wires. JP Morgan backed it, then balked when Tesla kept expanding goals. Tesla quietly redesigned parts, chasing bigger voltage and taller structures overnight. Meanwhile, Marconi sent radio messages across oceans, stealing Tesla's thunder quickly. Money dried up, workers left, and the lab became an empty shell. Tesla tried selling patents and giving lectures, but creditors circled relentlessly. In the end, the tower was demolished, and the dream fizzled. 2. Thomas Edison's concrete house dream that cracked fast. The idea was to mass-produce homes, but most buyers never appeared. Around the 1910, Thomas Edison pushed poured concrete houses for working families. He owned a cement business and saw homes as the perfect showroom. Designs used giant metal molds, so walls and stairs formed in one pour. Builders learned the molds were expensive, heavy, and painfully hard to align. One mistake meant warped walls, cracked corners, and whole rooms set wrong forever. Even furniture was imagined in concrete, which sounds durable until you move. A few demonstration houses rose, including examples in New Jersey and Indiana. The vision died because it was cheaper to build with wood anyway. 3. Howard Hughes built a Spruce Goose that barely flew. It looked like the biggest airplane ever, yet it barely left the water. During World War II, Howard Hughes promised a flying boat made from wood. Aluminum was restricted, so the H-4 Hercules became birch and spruce laminates. Critics mocked it as the Spruce Goose before it even reached the bay. In 1947, at Long Beach, Hughes surprised everyone by taking the controls. He lifted it briefly above the water, then settled back down safely. Instead of proving a future, it proved a moment, like a magic trick. Hughes kept it climate-controlled for decades, almost daring anyone to doubt him. It never flew again, but the spectacle became the real product. 4. The Hindenburg proved hydrogen airships were a dead end. The ship became a flaming headline, and a whole technology lost trust. In 1937, the German airship Hindenburg arrived at Lakehurst, New Jersey, in rain. Crew dropped mooring lines, passengers waved, and cameras rolled for the landing. Then fire raced along the hydrogen skin, faster than people could run. Some jumped, some survived, and others were trapped by collapsing metal ribs. Investigators argued over static sparks, leaked gas, and flammable outer coating. Germany quickly shifted away from passenger zeppelins, and the era collapsed. The disaster stuck in memory because it was filmed, not just reported. After that, airplanes looked safer, even when they were still risky. 5. The Titanic's watertight compartments that failed when it mattered. The ship was built to stay afloat, yet the sea found seams. In 1912, RMS Titanic struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic at night. Watertight compartments existed, but water spilled over when too many filled. Officers thought the damage was manageable, then the list kept worsening. Boats were launched half full, while steerage passengers struggled through locked routes. Wireless operators sent distress calls, and nearby ships moved too slowly. As the bow sank, the stern rose and steel groaned like a warning. The ship broke apart, turning design promises into freezing chaos in minutes. Afterward, rules changed, lifeboats increased, and the myth of unsinkable died. 6. Ford's Edsel became the most famous car flop. The car became a joke so big it haunted Ford for decades. In the late 1950s, Ford launched Edsel as a new brand between lines. Executives promised a futuristic look, and dealers stocked showrooms like holidays. Then buyers saw the grille, compared it to everything, and laughed loudly. Quality problems appeared fast, with mismatched parts and features that failed. Marketing teased mystery for months, which raised expectations to impossible levels. On launch day, crowds came, but many left without signing paperwork. In only a few years, Ford shut it down and ate losses. Edsel became shorthand for hype, misreading tastes, and expensive embarrassment. 7. The DeLorean sports car that collapsed into bankruptcy. The stainless steel icon survived, but the company crashed around it fast. In the early 1980s, John DeLorean built the DMC-12 in Northern Ireland. Its gull-wing doors looked futuristic, while the V6 engine felt underpowered. Cash problems piled up, and the factory depended on government support. Then a drug sting made headlines, and investors ran for the exits. DeLorean was later acquitted, but the damage to sales was already done. Thousands of unsold cars sat, while suppliers demanded money and parts. The company folded, leaving owners with orphans that became cult treasures. Hollywood later revived the car's image, which the business never enjoyed. 8. Sinclair C5, the tiny electric car that bombed. It promised freedom for commuters, but it became a sidewalk punchline. In mid-1980s Britain, Clive Sinclair unveiled the C5 electric trike. It had a low seat, a small motor, and a weather shield. Reviewers noted riders were practically bumper height beside buses and trucks. Early models struggled on hills, and the range disappointed many buyers. Police even warned about visibility because drivers could miss the tiny vehicle. Stores stocked them, then watched returns arrive with scratched plastic fairings. Sinclair's reputation took a hit even after his earlier calculator success. The C5 vanished quickly, leaving a symbol of optimism meeting real roads. 9. Google Glass, the wearable that became a public punchline. In 2013, Google introduced Glass with a bold demo in San Francisco. Early adopters paid high prices, and developers rushed to build apps. But the tiny camera raised privacy fears in bars, gyms, and theaters. Some venues banned it, and the nickname Glass Hole spread like wildfire. Battery life was limited, and the display could distract mid-conversation. Google tried a softer rollout, but public backlash already hardened. The consumer version ended, while enterprise uses quietly continued in factories. It became a lesson that tech can be clever and still unwanted. 10. Apple Newton the PDA that arrived too early. It tried to invent the smartphone, but the world wasn't ready yet. In the 1990s, Apple built Newton as a handheld personal digital assistant. John Sculley pushed it, and the stylus became its signature tool. Handwriting recognition was the big promise, and jokes followed its mistakes. Early demos misread words, turning simple notes into nonsense for audiences. Battery life and speed lagged, and the device felt bulky in pockets. Apple kept refining it, adding better software and smaller models later. Then, Steve Jobs returned and killed Newton to focus the company. Years later, the iPhone succeeded using lessons Newton learned painfully. 11. Microsoft Zune, the iPod rival that couldn't compete. It had great music features, but it arrived to a closed party. In 2006, Microsoft launched the Zune to challenge Apple's iPod dominance. It offered wireless sharing, but only limited songs for limited time. The marketplace lagged, and the brands never felt as cool. One holiday update famously froze many devices on December 31st. Microsoft fixed it, but the story became the product's identity. Meanwhile, iTunes and iPod kept improving, locking in habits worldwide.
Zune later lived inside Windows Phone,
like a second life backstage. Fans still praise it, but the mainstream moved on without looking back. 12. Sony Betamax, the better tape that's still lost. It was technically better, yet the world chose the other tape. In the late 1970s, Sony introduced Betamax for home video recording. Picture quality was strong, but early tapes held less time than rivals. JVC's VHS format spread through licensing, so many brands could build it. Video rental stores stocked what customers owned, and the cycle reinforced itself. Sony tried extending recording time, but the momentum was already gone. Betamax found niches in broadcasting, while living rooms went VHS instead. The format war became a classic case of standards beating specifications. Later, people joked that being better is useless if nobody buys. 13. New Coke, the reinvention that backfired overnight. It was meant to refresh Coca-Cola, yet it sparked a consumer revolt. In 1985, executives replaced the classic formula after taste tests favored sweetness. New Coke rolled out nationwide, and loyal fans felt personally betrayed. Phone lines lit up, letters poured in, and protests appeared at stores. People hoarded old cans, treating soda like a collectible emergency supply. Coca-Cola rushed back the original as Coca-Cola Classic within months. New Coke stayed quietly, but the cultural damage was already legendary. It proved that data can miss identity, nostalgia, and ritual. After that, brands treated core products like sacred ground, not playgrounds. 14. Crystal Pepsi, the clear soda experiment nobody wanted. It looked cool and futuristic, then it disappeared like a magic trick. In the early 1990s, Pepsi launched Crystal Pepsi as a clear cola. Ads framed it as pure and modern, riding the era's health vibes. But people expected lemon-lime taste, then met regular cola flavor instead. Confusion hit fast, and shoppers didn't reorder after first curiosity sips. Pepsi also introduced a matching clear diet version, complicating shelves further. Competitors mocked it, and the novelty wore off almost immediately. Within a couple years, it was mostly gone from American stores. It returned later as nostalgia, proving failure can still sell memories. 15. The Segway hype machine that never took over cities. It promised effortless transportation, but sidewalks never filled with Segways. In 2001, inventor Dean Kamen unveiled Segway with huge secretive hype. Early rumors predicted cities redesigned around it, like a personal revolution. The reality was expensive, bulky, and awkward to carry indoors. Some governments restricted sidewalk use, and riders needed training in traffic. Police departments adopted a few, and tour companies loved them briefly. A famous owner later died in an accident, deepening the uneasy image. Segway's core idea survived in scooters, just cheaper and simpler. The machine became a symbol of overhype, meeting normal human behavior. 16. HD DVD, the next disc format that lost the war. One disc lost the war, and living rooms barely noticed the drama. In the mid-2000s, HD DVD competed with Blu-ray for high-definition movies. Toshiba backed HD DVD, while Sony pushed Blu-ray through PlayStation 3. Studios split, retailers hesitated, and buyers delayed purchases to avoid regret. Then major studios switched sides, and shelf space followed the winners quickly. Blockbuster stores phased out HD DVD, sending a loud signal to families. Hardware prices dropped, but the momentum had already flipped permanently. Toshiba conceded, and HD DVD players became bargain bin relics overnight. It showed that alliances can matter more than technology in a format war. 17. Juicero, the smart juicer that needed no smartness. It cost hundreds, yet a simple hand squeeze did the same job. In 2016, Juicero sold a connected juicer that used proprietary juice packs. It scanned QR codes, then slowly pressed the pack with heavy force. The surprise was brutal. People proved they could squeeze packs by hand. That made the Wi-Fi features feel like a fancy lock on fruit. Investors had funded it heavily, expecting smart kitchens to explode. Juicero tried cutting the price, but the meme had already won. The company shut down, and unopened machines became ironic conversation pieces. It became shorthand for Silicon Valley solving problems that never existed. 18. Theranos' blood test promised that couldn't deliver. It promised tiny finger prick miracles, then collapsed under basic lab reality. In the 2000s, Elizabeth Holmes founded Theranos in Silicon Valley with big claims. She attracted powerful backers, and the board included famous older statesmen. The pitch was simple: run many blood tests from a few drops. Inside, the Edison device struggled, and staff used traditional machines instead. Employees raised alarms, and secrecy rules kept departments from comparing results. Regulators inspected, partnerships unraveled, and the story turned from genius to deception. Trials later focused on what patients and investors were told versus done. It became a cautionary tale about charisma outrunning chemistry and quality control. 19. Quibi, the mobile TV platform that died in months. It launched with celebrities, then vanished faster than most people could subscribe. In 2020, Quibi arrived in the United States as short-form premium television. Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman led it, betting on phones and commutes. Then the pandemic hit, and commuting vanished, stealing Quibi's core moment. The app blocked screenshots, which made sharing buzz nearly impossible online. Big stars appeared, but the format felt strange, halfway between TV and TikTok. Subscribers stayed low, and the massive budget started looking reckless quickly. Quibi shut down within months, selling content and technology afterward. It proved that timing can kill, even when the production is polished. 20. Amazon Fire Phone, the big tech flop nobody bought. It was Amazon's phone moment, and it ended as a clearance bin legend. In 2014, Amazon released the Fire Phone with heavy advertising and carrier deals. It featured a 3D-like perspective trick called dynamic perspective using extra cameras. But the killer feature was a shopping button, which felt more like a leash. Apps were limited because Google's Play Store was not included. Reviews complained about price, battery life, and a confusing interface overall. Amazon cut prices quickly, then wrote off huge inventory losses. The phone disappeared, while Amazon quietly kept building Alexa and devices instead. 21. Samsung Galaxy Note 7 batteries that forced a recall. A single battery flaw turned a flagship phone into a global safety story. In 2016, Samsung released Galaxy Note 7 with huge demand and fast sales. Reports of overheating began, and photos showed scorched pockets and luggage. Airlines banned it, and airports posted warnings like it was contraband. Samsung issued a recall, then replacement phones also caught fire unexpectedly. Investigators traced problems to tight battery space and manufacturing defects. Production stopped, and Samsung disabled devices remotely through software updates worldwide. The fiasco cost billions and damaged trust in premium Android phones. Afterward, Samsung introduced stricter battery testing to rebuild confidence worldwide. 22. Windows Vista, the operating system everyone wanted gone. It was supposed to modernize Windows, but users felt punished instead. In 2007, Microsoft released Windows Vista after years of delays and changes. New security prompts interrupted everything, making simple tasks feel like arguments. Drivers and software broke, especially on older PCs sold as compatible. People blamed Vista, even when weak hardware was the real culprit. businesses delayed upgrades, sticking with Windows XP far longer than planned. Microsoft rushed improvements, and Windows 7 later became the popular repair job. Vista's reputation stuck, becoming shorthand for bloat and frustration everywhere. It reminds designers that good features fail if they irritate daily habits. 23. The Dvorak keyboard layout that never replaced QWERTY. It was designed to make typing easier, yet it stayed mostly theoretical. In the 1930s, August Dvorak created a keyboard layout to reduce finger travel. He argued it boosted speed and comfort, especially compared with QWERTY. Studies and counter-studies battled, and results depended on who measured what. Even if it helped, retraining millions of typists was a massive hurdle. Typewriter makers and offices already standardized, so switching felt risky and costly. Computers later offered easy remapping, but habits were glued in place. Today, Dvorak survives among enthusiasts, programmers, and ergonomic experimenters in small communities. It shows that better design can lose to familiarity and network effects. 24. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge that danced itself to pieces. The bridge became famous for dancing, then collapsed into Puget Sound. In 1940, Washington opened Tacoma Narrows Bridge with a narrow, flexible design. Locals nicknamed it Galloping Gertie because wind made the deck ripple. Engineers studied the motion, thinking it was just harmless oscillation. On a windy November morning, the twisting grew violent and rhythmic. A camera captured the deck buckling, cables snapping, and roadway tearing apart. A dog was trapped in a car, while people crawled to safety. The collapse taught engineers about aeroelastic flutter and wind-driven resonance. Modern bridges changed shapes and stiffening after that dramatic failure. 25. NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter lost to unit confusion. A spacecraft vanished because humans argued with numbers written in different systems. In 1999, NASA launched Mars Climate Orbiter to study Martian weather and dust. One team used pound seconds, while another expected Newton seconds for thrust data. The mismatch pushed the probe lower than planned, like a silent steering error. As it approached Mars, it likely burned up or skipped away unseen. Engineers realized the mistake during analysis, and the embarrassment was immediate. NASA revised processes, adding checks for units and cross-team communication. It sounds like a math class problem, except it cost real spacecraft. The story became a classic warning that details kill big dreams. 26. The Soviet N-1 moon rocket that never reached space. It was the Soviet moonshot, and it kept exploding before leaving Earth. In the late 1960s, the USSR built the N-1 rocket to beat America. Chief designer Sergei Korolev had died, and leadership became fragmented afterward. The first stage used many small engines, creating complexity and vibration risks. Early launches ended in massive failures, including one that destroyed a pad. Engineers struggled with testing because full-scale static firing was limited. After repeated losses, the program was canceled, and secrecy hid it for years. Later, documents revealed how close and how chaotic the effort was. The moon race ended, and the N-1 became a symbol of missed chances. 27. The Yugo budget car that America quickly rejected. It was marketed as a bargain, then it became America's favorite punchline car. In the 1980s, Yugoslav company Zastava sold the Yugo in the United States. It entered through dealer Malcolm Bricklin, promising simple transportation for low prices. Buyers got basic features but also weak quality, rust, and breakdown stories. Comedians piled on, and every roadside Yugo became a traveling advertisement for failure. Service parts and support were inconsistent, making small problems turn big. As Yugoslavia unraveled politically, importing and maintaining cars became even harder. Sales collapsed, and the Yugo became a cultural shorthand for cheap disappointment. Today, surviving Yugos are oddball collectibles, mostly because the joke endured. 28. Ford Pinto fuel tank design that sparked outrage. The Pinto became infamous after crashes, not because it was slow or ugly. In the early 1970s, Ford rushed Pinto to compete with small imported cars. The fuel tank sat behind the rear axle, vulnerable in certain impacts. Internal debates weighed costs and fixes, and later documents fueled outrage. Some crashes caused fires, and lawsuits made the story national news. Ford issued modifications, but the reputation was already burned into the model. Congress held hearings, and safety regulation conversations grew sharper afterward. The Pinto story became a case study in engineering ethics and urgency. It reminds companies that shortcuts can become headlines that never disappear. 29. Osborne, one portable computer that triggered the Osborne effect. The company collapsed because it announced its own next product too soon. In 1981, Adam Osborne sold the Osborne One as an early portable computer. It was luggable, not light, yet it thrilled business travelers and hobbyists. Then Osborne talked up newer models before the old inventory sold. Dealers stopped ordering, customers waited, and warehouses filled like a slow flood. Cash dried up quickly because sales were the oxygen of the company. Competitors kept shipping, while Osborne's promised upgrades slipped and costs rose. Bankruptcy followed, and the phrase Osborne effect entered business vocabulary. It's a cruel twist. Excitement for the future can kill the present. 30. Boeing 2707 supersonic jet that never left the drawing board. In the 1960s, Boeing designed the 2007 as America's supersonic passenger jet. Plans showed huge size, swing wings, and speeds rivaling any civilian plane. Noise concerns grew, especially sonic booms over land and airport communities. Costs climbed, schedules slipped, and airlines worried about fuel and ticket prices. Congress pulled funding, and the program ended before any prototype flew. Thousands lost jobs, and Boeing faced a painful downturn soon after. Only markups and drawings remained, like a canceled future in metal. It proved that speed alone cannot outrun economics and public acceptance. 31. Concorde supersonic airliner that couldn't beat economics. It flew faster than sound, yet it slowly bled money every day. Concorde entered service in the 1970s with British Airways and Air France. Flights linked London and Paris to New York in just a few hours. But tickets were expensive, routes were limited, and fuel costs stayed brutal. Noise rules blocked many airports, and sonic booms restricted overland flight options. Maintenance was specialized, and the fleet was small, making parts costly. After a 2000 crash near Paris, confidence and demand dropped further. By 2003, airlines retired Concorde, ending the glamorous supersonic era. It became a legend, but legends do not balance airline spreadsheets. 32. Motorola Iridium, satellite phones that bankrupted the dream. It covered the planet, yet customers hated carrying a brick with fees. In the late 1990s, Motorola launched Iridium, a satellite phone network in orbit. Calls could work anywhere, but only with a clear view of sky. Handsets were bulky, battery life suffered, and indoor reception was terrible. Service costs were high, and the target audience was smaller than imagined. Within a year, the company filed bankruptcy, shocking investors and engineers. Satellite stayed up, and the system was later bought cheaply and revived. Today, Iridium serves shipping, aviation, and remote work where cell towers fail. It's a rare comeback built on smaller expectations and real niche needs. 33. MiniDisc music players that couldn't replace cassette or CD. It tried to replace the cassette, but it arrived into a messy transition. In 1992, Sony introduced MiniDisc using magneto-optical discs in hard shells. It allowed re-recording and track skipping, which felt futuristic compared with tapes. But early systems used compression that audiophiles disliked, even when it improved. Blank discs cost more than cassettes, and players were not cheap either. Then MP3 players and writable CDs surged, changing what people wanted. Many discs survived in Japan, especially for recording concerts and radio work. Outside Japan, it stayed a niche, despite clever engineering and durability. It shows how timing can be quality when formats shift quickly.